Hello, and welcome to our presentation, TV Series Adaptation, an AI Toolkit for Success. Our research project is born from the collaboration of humanities scholar Dr. Landry Digeon and AI engineer Amin. We offer an unprecedented approach to analyze transnational TV series adaptations to shed light on cultural practices and provide cinematographic cues for more successful adaptations. We propose a method called the multimodal intercultural matrix, also called MIM, paired with an artificial intelligence toolkit called the Mobius trip. The goal of our research is twofold. First, we want to measure cultural elements through representation in TV series. This goal is mostly academic. The framework and methodologies currently used to create cultural models are often contested. We would like to offer a tool that can help to refine such models with objective data. Our second goal is motivated by the transnational adaptation TV series industry. We want to propose the key for a successful adaptation. TV scholar Albert Moran argues that TV series adaptation capitalizes on the popularity of the original show and lowers the risk of commercial failure in the receiving country. But the reality is, it's not always the case. So to conduct our research, we use the popular American TV crime show Law and Order Criminal Intent and its French adaptation, Paris, Enquête criminelle. The American version of Law and Order was very successful in the US and ran for 10 seasons. While the French version, Paris Enquête criminelle, did not meet the expectations in terms of audience in France and was discontinued after 3 seasons. This adaptation is an example of transfer failure. It offers an excellent showcase to identify dysfunctional elements. Ultimately, we want to compare the failed adaptation, Paris Enquête criminelle, with French crime shows that were successful in order to identify a pattern of success. So our research is nested in the field of multimodality. This approach claims that communication and representation are more than just about language, but it should also take into account modes such as text and oral and linguistics and spatial and gestural modes. And also multimodality draws from the field of semiotics. That is, it assumes that meaning is contextual because each culture is subject to its own interpretation of signs and symbols. Film theory identifies the key elements that constitute the film language. They are essential to understanding the meaning-making process of the show. Shot scales, camera angles, sound, color, lighting, as well as editing all add meaning to a discourse. Our work also draws from digital humanities scholar Franco Moretti and his concept of close and distant reading. This approach consists of examining a text meticulously and linearly for deeper comprehension, as well as zooming out and deconstructing the text into graphs, for instance. We rely on big data to identify structures and trends. So reverse engineering is key to our research. We want to break down a show into quantified elements to make analysis and comparisons possible. To do so, we propose the multimodal intercultural matrix, the MIM as we call it. The MIM model divides the show into 3 cultural categories named power, language, and society. These societies are fueled by intercultural models of communication, such as Ofsted's cultural dimensions. Each category intersects with the 3 different modes: film techniques, nonverbal communication, and speech. The multimodal intercultural matrix is a model for structural analysis. Its methodological approach allows us to look at a text from 9 different points of view. Each point of view is at the intersection of a mode and an intercultural category. For instance, we can look at the scene through the concept of power and camera work. This way, we can see how power is portrayed through angles, scales, and music, and so on. Big data is at the heart of our research because it reveals cultural and cinematographic trends. To conduct our research, we did an inventory of different AI tools to analyze films and TV shows. The Gina Davis Institute conducts large-scale research on gender representation in the media, for instance. They use AI and big data to highlight the overwhelming underrepresentation of women in cinema, as well as on TV. Hollywood is using artificial intelligence and big data to help decide how to make movies. Cineletic is more business-oriented. It evaluates how the choice of actors could financially impact a box office. Another one, Scriptbook, claims to predict the success of a screenplay. But we do it differently. Mobius trip We look at culture and film language. We argue that we can contribute to making a transnational TV series adaptation more successful with the artificial intelligence toolkit we have created.
Thank you, Dr. Digeon. Your explanation of multimodal interpretation using a heuristic approach describes the mechanical framework that we use in media analysis using machine learning so that we can reproduce that human reasoning at scale. We decided on a machine learning approach to solve two fundamental challenges when extracting information from film. One is facial recognition. We want to first know how many male and female actors are represented throughout an episode. The other is object detection, where we begin to learn about the context within which the actors play. We're borrowing a classification technique from an AI discipline of natural language processing. In text analysis, we start by detecting language and grammar by finding relationships and definitions of the words. The definitions and the relationships create context and therefore an ability to label text for reference. If we consider a single frame, the word, within a series of frames, sentences, and begin to label the relationships amongst the objects within the scene, we are able to understand what's going on. In order for us to create a learning model that can understand a scene, we have to know what is in the scene. We have to know where the objects are located relative to the camera and each other. We begin by detecting the actors and label them. Many open source facial recognition libraries are able to detect most of the faces in the episodes with enough accuracy to get us started. We plan to look at this data by varying time frames, by episode length, by shot length, and frame by frame. At this point, we begin to answer some basic questions. How many women were represented in the episode? What is the average shot length for a man versus a woman? How do the average shot lengths compare to the failed episode? Most of the work at this time is on accuracy. Video data comes in varying resolutions, but most importantly with varying direction of the filmmaker. Producers decide to use low lighting and blur certain objects in the scene. While this is a creative form of entertainment for the human, it poses a challenge for the machine. Much of the technical work is on enhancing the images so that a machine can see it the way that we do. With the enhancements, we're able to improve the accuracy of detecting additional contexts within the scene, such as knowing if it's indoors or outdoors, and knowing the props that are in the scenes. By comparing this information to the cultural expectations, we can have a better time determining why the episode failed. At the time we saw the metadata from this distant reading analysis, we began work on solving challenges that will allow for us to load large amounts of training data and improve accuracy, so that we can detect more objects, to better detect representation, and to discover new aspects of human behavior. The Mobius strip is best offered as a toolkit that can integrate into existing applications and workflows. It's intended to step in to validate fuzzy conclusions made by traditional methods of analysis. It's intended to offer more insights into the intentions of producing a show that comes with expectations. The goal of the Mobius strip is to always uncover more of the big picture.
The Mobius strip has the ability to apply an in-depth analysis to big data. However, it is still at an experimental stage. Only a few functions are available for now. Our preliminary results are based on the analysis of 3 episodes of Law & Order and the 3 equivalent episodes of Paris Enquête Criminelle. We found that women were overwhelmingly underrepresented in both shows. However, the gap is not as important in the French version. Such finding confirms the expected trend that women are more represented in France. We also found that men are slightly more likely to display anger, while women display more fear and sadness. We found that overall, characters display more emotions in the French show. According to cultural research, French people are likely to be more expressive than Americans. This finding seems to confirm the trend again. These results are not yet sufficient to uncover the expected cultural trends and to find the key to a successful TV series adaptation. Our next step is to continue gathering more data and add more features to the Mobius strip in order to get a more comprehensive picture. Thank you for your attention, and we are ready to answer any question you may have. Thank you.